back to Good Enough Customs. So, last episode, y'all guys saw where I totally boogered up the rail for the floor support. So, I thought I had it good and straightened out. I did not. We did measurements from the distance from here to the rocker, you know, just kind of spot checked it in a few spots. And then we did measurements from floor up in a few different spots all throughout here. And those measurements all looked okay. The one thing I did not take into account was the truck actually not sitting level. So last night I got out here and started monkeying around with it. And wouldn't you know it, the driver's front corner, and this is measuring going from the floor to the bolt going through the leaf spring hanger on the very front of the truck. So right there where it attaches to the frame. And yeah, the front driver's side is a solid inch lower than the passenger side. So that corner, I guess, has a soft spring. That's the only thing I can figure. So what I'm going to end up doing is, in order to fix that floor support that I boogered up really bad without having to go and buy another one, which apparently I don't think they make those, because I was looking and I couldn't find them. I did find the one piece that goes from about the mid-span, this piece right here that goes up here. I did find that piece, but that piece seems to be okay-ish. This is the one that I really boogered up. But like I said, it's all pretty close as far as measurements go. So trying to make sure that it's good height-wise. And again, not taking into account that the friggin' spring on the driver's front is weak. And so it's letting that front end sag down a little bit. I thought my measurements are good. Apparently they're not. So since we're going ahead and doing the suspension, this works out beautifully, because what I can do now is get the frame up on jack stands as we're pulling the suspension off, you know, whatever, that's fine. But we'll go ahead and get the frame set up on jack stands. I can throw a level on it. I can shim on it. I can try to get it to make sure that all four corners are sitting where they need to be sitting, make sure that we've got, you know, that it's level across the frame, front and rear, side to side. And then I can go through, and then I can take some measurements, and then I can figure out exactly where it's messed up and bent, and get that all sorted out. So I guess that's where we're going to start today, is we're going to start ripping this old suspension off. So the truck already has a 2-inch kit on it. I don't know how old the kit is. I don't know what type of kit. I don't know much about it. All I know is we got 2-inch blocks out here in the back, and then we've got 2-inch springs up front. It looks like they're still using the factory pitman arm. So luckily though, we don't have to deal with getting that off, because oh man, those are a bear. But we've already got the new to us axles in here. We drug those in the other day, and so here's our rear axle, here's our front axle. We've got I believe it's got 410 gears in it. These axles were gone through and basically rebuilt from the bottom up before they were stored, and they've been stored for like 15 years. So most everything should be in good shape. Seals may need to be looked at. So we're gonna go ahead and bolt everything up anyways, just as it is. And then once we've got it all on the truck, we can go through and just kind of double check everything, you know, pull the diff covers, check, make sure fluid's still good. We don't have any leaks, so that's either a good thing or a bad thing, because it could be a good thing if all the seals are really good and it's not leaking a drop, or it's a bad thing because the damn things are dry. So, but I think we're good. They've got little caps on the vent tubes, one there and one right there. So the vent tube's been capped off. They've been stored inside up until probably 6 months ago, and we had them sitting outside just because I didn't have room in the shop for them. So, so we've got those guys that we're going to drop in there, and the truck that these came off of, I believe, had an 8-inch kit on it, so it's already got the newer, or the raised up pitman arm on it. We're missing the nuts, but we've got nuts, or I can buy nuts. So hopefully we don't have to deal with the pitman arm. God, those things are terrible. Me and a buddy were actually talking about this the other night, and he had a K5 Blazer that we put a 4-inch kit on it, and this would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we fought for like 3 days getting them stupid, those conical washers that are down in there. We fought for like 3 days. All we had on us were hammers and a freaking propane torch. And man, we kept beating on that thing and heating it up and beating on it and heating it up. And finally, after about 3 days, it gave. And we were just like, I think we both had a celebratory beer right then and there, because it was just like, oh my God. So hopefully we don't have to deal with those things, because oh my God, those are so bad. But anyway, so we've got those axles. We've got, I believe I bought this on eBay, a Zone 4-inch suspension setup. So we got 4-inch springs for the front. We got blocks for the rear with new U-bolts. We've got some shocks. I believe they're Zone as well. I'm not sure what else actually in that box, because I haven't opened it. And we bought all this stuff end of last summer, maybe. I can't remember exactly when we bought it all, but we've had this stuff sitting for a little while. Then we've got our 35-12-50s. We've got these, I think they're 17x9 ions. They might be 17x8, but I can't remember. We got these a little over a year ago. And then we also, thank God, thank God, we bought the tires a little over a year ago, because holy crap, if y'all guys actually tried to buy big freaking mud tires here recently, it is insane how these things have gotten expensive. So they were even pretty pricey when we bought them. So, you know, we have a pretty tight budget. So we ended up getting these. They are Canatis. I guess that's how you pronounce that. Or is it Canate? And then we also have, they're the Mud Hog MTs. So they have a really good tread pattern to them. They're pretty aggressive. They kind of remind me of the old Goodyear MTR tread pattern from like the early 2000s. I actually had a set of those, and man, those tires were beasts. They just dug and chugged, man. They were great tires. But yeah, so we went with the off-brand tires, and trying, you know, like I said, we're budget building the crap out of this truck. So far, I think we've dumped about $5,000 in this thing. And that's pretty much all the money that we really had to spend. So we bought the truck for $2,200. We bought the lift kit. We bought the tires. Both of those are pretty pricey. I think the lift kit was like $800. I think the tires were around the tires were about $800. I even went a step further and just to save a few bucks, didn't take and go get them mounted. So they're unbalanced. They still got to get balanced, but I didn't take and get them mounted. I just sat here in the floor with a bottle of dishwasher or dish soap, a water spray bottle, and a couple big pry bars, and got those things mounted. And my goodness, that was a rough day. I was pretty wore out at the end of that day, mounting those big old tires on there. I always thought the bigger tires would be a little bit easier to mount than the little tires. Like I had some 31s. No, they weren't even 31s. They were like 275 70s or something that I put on one of my other trucks, and I mounted those up. Man, it was like butter. Those things went in quick and easy. These things, I mean, it was like a 3-hour ordeal trying to get these stupid things mounted up, and I was just flat beat. As a matter of fact, I think I went inside and took a nap afterwards, because it kicked my tail. But anyway, so trying to save as much money as possible. So I think we paid, I think it was about $800 for the tires. I mounted them on the wheels. The wheels, I think I got those for like $500. Maybe, I don't recall. But the wheels came with, you know, new center caps, new lug nuts, the chrome valve stems, all that fun stuff. The lift kit, like I said, I think it was about $800, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, you know, we put some good money in that stuff, and then we've got the money on the truck, and then all the little odd and end parts and pieces that we bought, you know, the floor pans and the the sheet metal that we've picked up for it. That stuff's not expensive. It really isn't. I think for all 4 pans for the passenger compartment, when I bought all that, I think it was like $200, $250, something like that. And then, of course, that little kick panel was like $20. So far the parts that we put into it aren't really expensive as far as the floor pans. It's more labor intensive than anything. So anyway, so we're going to get kicking on this thing. Like I said, we're going to rip all the suspension and everything off of it. So we're going to get under here. We'll probably get started on the rear, because, you know, it's the easiest. So we'll get started back here, disconnect the e-brake cables, pull the brake lines, pull the shocks, disconnect the drive shaft. We'll probably just go ahead and drag it on out. And then we'll pull the bolts, and we'll probably just leave the leaf spring attached to the axle. Just drop the whole thing out as a unit, slide it out of the way, and then slide the new axle in. And I actually put the new leaf spring, or the, no, wait a minute, that's right, these leaf springs stay. I am getting way ahead of myself here. So, yeah, forget what I just said. So we're going to drop off the, e-brake cables, the brake line, go ahead and pull those U-bolts. If they're too terribly rusty, we'll just cut the darn things. And we'll drop that axle out. We'll slide the new axle in, put the 4-inch blocks back here with the new U-bolts, get it ready to go in. We probably won't get it in tonight because what we're going to do is try to get everything disassembled, get this thing on the jack stands, and get it leveled up so that way we can figure out what in the crap's going on with that floor over there. And then up here on the front, this is the one where we've got a lot of work to do. So we got to pull off both brake lines on both sides. We got to drop off the steering, got to drop off the shocks, got to drop off the drive shaft, got to drop off the sway bar, which that sway bar may or may not make its way back on there. I know they're supposed to be for, you know, corner and stability and all this stuff. When you get into a 4-6-inch lift kit on these trucks, you know, you're already got a pretty good arch on the springs, and they're going to ride a little rough. I had an 87. It was a short bed truck with 6-inch kit. That thing rode like a freaking log wagon. It was painful on some of these bumps. I took off the sway bar. Man, that thing rode great after that. It was just, it worked out fantastic. And I don't know if it was because the sway bar was bound up and causing problems, but you're not really doing hot laps and doing some hard cornering in a lifted 4-wheel drive vehicle. If you are doing it, kudos to you, but that's not the smartest thing in the world to do. And I've done some pretty dumb stuff in the past, including that. So, but this one we're going to take and we'll disconnect all the crap off of it, and then we're just going to pop out the bolts off of the leaf spring eyes, drop the springs with it still on the axle, slide it out of the way, and then put the new springs on, slide the new axle in, and start reconnecting stuff. Well, that's enough of the jaw flapping, so we're going to get down here and get cracking on this thing. We'll catch up with y'all guys just here in a bit. All right, folks, so what we're going to do is I test fit the new U-bolts just to verify. I've gotten the wrong size U-bolts before, so I did test fit the other U-bolts, just slid them over the axle, make sure that they matched up with the axle tube. They're actually the same length as these U-bolts. I tried breaking one of these guys loose. We've had these things soaking for the better part of a week, and this is just too much distance to make up for a deep well socket. I don't have one that deep, but we put a wrench on it, actually 2 wrenches, and was pulling on it really hard, and it was barely wanting to give. So in the interest of saving time and knuckles, we're just going to cut the U-bolts. So a couple nice little slices down here on the bottom, and that should relieve the tension on it. We've got the axle held up with the floor jack and some jack stands just to be on the safe side. So once we get these broke loose, we can jack it up just a little bit with the floor jack, and then we can let it on down after we slide the jack stands out from underneath it. We can slide it on down and get this thing out of here. So what we did was disconnected the U-bolt, disconnected the e-brake cables. We're going to go ahead and replace all the soft lines on this thing anyway, so I just went ahead and cut the soft line that feeds to the rear axle. I don't recall if the other axle had the hard lines on it, so I don't want to mess these guys up because I don't like bending up brake lines. It's a pain in the butt, and if I can reuse these guys, heck yeah, I'm going to do it. So I don't think the other axle has brake lines on it. I'm actually looking at it, and I don't see a brake line on it. So we'll probably reuse these brake lines. They're in good shape. There's no holes. There's no rust. So they look like they're fine. So we'll reuse these guys. But yeah, I guess for right now, we're just going to cut these U-bolts, drop this rear axle out, and get it set on the frame. And then we can try to level this thing out so we can fix that floor pan. folks, I just got the driver's side tore down, pretty much ready to drop out. Disconnected the brake line. We're going to replace the brake line, so I didn't want to cut it just because we could still use it for something. If we get this thing back up and running. I cut the rear line so we don't have any rear brakes, but if we decide to, you know, it's driving and we want to run it around the yard or something, I can have those hooked up and we'll still have some sort of line. We're going to have to replace these anyways. I'll have to order them. They didn't come with the kit, but since we went with the 4-inch kit, these are not going to be long enough. They're going to be a little too short, so they're going to be really stretched out. So got the brake line disconnected, got the shocks disconnected up top. Not worried about down below because this is all coming out as one unit. We got a new pitman arm, or pitman arm coming off, or coming with the other axles. It's the correct one for the 4-inch lift, because what you'll end up running into is, this is your steering angle right now. If you use the factory arm down here, your steering angle starts like, I mean, it won't even reach that steep. So it's going to be extremely steep. You'll be able to turn left, and that's about it. I only know that because, you know, we tried to get away from doing this whenever we tried to do it on Buddy's Blazer. And we could turn left all day long. You could turn about, I don't know, maybe 5 degrees right, and that was it. So turned into NASCAR time really fast. So anyways, since we got a new arm, we're not worried about this one. I'm going to replace the tie rod end anyways. These, yeah, it's pretty, I mean, it's still got some life in it. You know, life. It's pretty loose. I mean, I can move it pretty easy by hand, so it's done. I've run worse. The sway bar, I just disconnected it from the body, or from the chassis. So the sway bar is still connected back here on the spring pad, the spring perch pad. We're going to end up having to pull that off anyways. That'll just be a hell of a lot easier off the truck. We can really, you know, get in it instead of having to deal with all this. I can put an impact on it, run it right off, done. The passenger side is the only thing really left. So as soon as I get the passenger side off, I'm going to, I guess, just pull this front hanger bolt, the rear hanger bolt. Do the same on the other side. I got to disconnect the breather hose for the front axle and the drive shaft. Can't forget that. Just got to disconnect those things, and then we can drop this front suspension right on out of here. Let's see. I noticed just a second ago, this guy was sitting, this jack stand was sitting very precariously. It wasn't going nowhere, but it wouldn't have taken much for it to go somewhere, which would have been, you know, basically flattening my head. Didn't want that. So I went ahead and repositioned that. It's a lot more solid now. So anyhow, I'm, I guess, going to get back to it. I got to go over to the passenger side, do almost the same stuff, minus the steering knuckle here, the steering arm, and then got to drop that drive shaft off. So we'll catch back up here shortly. All right, so just a really quick update on what all's going on. So last night we finished up getting the front axle, leaf spring, steering, all that stuff disconnected and dropped out of the truck. Slid it, you know, I had these nice little dollies, rolled it back here. A couple reasons why I did this way. The main reason being, I don't have so much crap in my way to where I can't get to these guys, because these U-bolts are going to be a real pleasure to deal with, I'm sure. Not that I necessarily have to save them, because I got new U-bolts with the new kit. It's just kind of, they look to be in pretty good shape. I'd rather go ahead and try to keep those, you know, keep them around. There may or may not be another project that I want to apply this front axle to. And then I've got to disconnect the sway bar ends from the spring pads, or U-bolts. They're not really U-bolts. I don't know. The U-bolt retaining pad, maybe? I don't know what you'd call it. This guy. So, got to disconnect the sway bar from that, and we'll just slide that sway bar off to the side. We're not going to reuse the sway bar. Got to get those loose, and then we can pull these leaf springs off. And once the leaf springs are off of there, then I can just kind of slide everything off to the side and stick it in the corner till it warms up just a little bit outside and it's not just bitter cold. And then I'll roll it out back and just kind of put it in my storage location. But rear axle just kind of hanging out there. I'd say that thing's pinion seal was pretty well shot, judging by how oily the pinion is on that guy. So we've got the new gear. Not quite ready for all that to go in yet. I got to do a little cleaning up. Jackson's job over the last couple days has been to scrape and wire brush all the dirt and just crap. This thing has been run through the mud quite a bit. So his job here lately has been scraping, cleaning, trying to get all the dirt and crap off. When we bought the truck, we pressure washed everything, but it did not get everything off. So he's just kind of going through scraping while I'm doing other stuff that's really just kind of a one-man show. So I'm gonna get under here. I'm gonna do some sweeping, some cleaning, picking up my tools, just kind of getting all this crap out of the way, because it's a mess in here right now. So get all this stuff out of the way, then I can work on leveling the truck out, which it looks like it's pretty level right now. Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs, but it looks like it's pretty level right now. So I'll take, and I don't really have a good level other than this little torpedo level. So I'm going to probably just measure from common points on the truck and just see what their distance to the ground is. You know, maybe back here at the bolt for the leaf spring hanger on the back, the leaf spring hanger eyelet up here in the front, on the other side, and on that other side. And then that way I can kind of just judge where everything is. Like I said, it looks pretty doggone level. I know my garage floor isn't perfectly level, but it's pretty close. And, you know, we're horseshoe hand grenading it here, so good enough, I guess, to get that floor kind of leveled off. Make sure it's in the right spot. It ain't got to be perfect. I'm not looking for perfect on this. But anyway, so that's kind of where we are right now. So I'm going to get to leveling on this guy and seeing what's going on there. Hopefully there's not much for me to do on that end, but get this guy leveled up a little bit, and then maybe I can do a little repair on that floor while it's up in the air and it's leveled up. See if I can't get that that piece of support straightened out, flattened out, whatever's wrong with it. Tend to that, and then I guess it's time to put suspension and everything back on this truck. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm actually excited for it. So this is almost how tall it'll be with the new lift and everything on it. It'll probably be round about, it might be just a smidge taller than this right now, once it gets the lift and everything on it, but it's up there pretty good. So anyway, stay tuned, and I'll catch back up to y'all here in just a little bit. All right, guys. So last night I get out here with the intentions of straightening up this support, and I got it done, but I forgot to turn the damn camera on. So and you didn't really miss much. It was there was a lot of bouncing, hanging, banging, slinging, cussing. Dude, it was a pain. Probably monkeyed around with this thing for a couple of hours, and then finally it just kind of hit me. I was like, wait a minute. The support needs to go forward just a smidge, and then it needs to go down roughly a 1/4 inch. So all I did was put this bolt in, got the captured nut, set it on there, ran the bolt through, just cranked it a little tight, not super snug, but just tight enough to where it'll hold. And then took a jack and just placed it. You can see where I kind of did a little whoopsie there, but I can hit that with a hammer, it'll be all right. But took the jack and a couple of 6x, stacked them up, jacked up the body, basically jacked the body up off the frame, and let it sit there for a few minutes, beat on this end just a little bit, looking for little kinks, bends, anything. Didn't come across anything that looked out of order. Set the thing back down, and I was within 1/8 of an inch. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That was too easy. So I jacked it up a little bit further the second time, set it back down, spot on. Ish. It may be like a 32nd of an inch off. It's not much. But I was able to set the floor pan in for the front, and it all kind of lines up better now. It doesn't have that big bow in the middle. So that is good enough. One thing I did do, I don't know if it really is helping anything or not, but I just took a piece of scrap metal. It's not the strongest stuff in the world, but this is kind of where that main flex was whenever it got all tweaked up really bad. This is right about where it was. So I just took and just tacked this guy up just to kind of hold it in case, because, you know, sometimes metal gets that little memory to it. Like, you know, if you bend it up really fast and hard, like this happened, it's not going to want to come back level. So basically got it down level, tacked that thing up. So hopefully that metal will keep it, the rest of it from wanting to bow and go. So it's ugly. I know it may not even do anything. Honestly, I don't know. That's pretty much going to stay there until I get the floor in. Once I get the floor in, everything else welded up over here and over there and back there and up there and everywhere. Once that's all done, then I can just cut those tacks off, hit it with a grinder, boom, done. You'll never know it was there. You can definitely tell, though, that I beat the ever-loving snot out of this thing. There's dents all through there, so I got to go back through and redo a bunch of cleaning up on that. Went ahead and slid the new axle in underneath the truck, mainly just to get it out of the way, because I had 4 axles here in the shop, and there was just trip hazards everywhere. So I just slid him here because actually today we're going to bolt this turkey up. Anyways, I've got this guy soaking, and we're going to bust this loose so I can get the plates off, so I can get them cleaned up, because they'll need to be cleaned up before we put them on the new stuff. I'll go ahead and get the new driver's front and slide it over here, and probably, I don't even know if I'll get it up underneath the truck just yet. It might be easier putting the leaf springs up with that thing not even under there. So I don't know. I'll do something with it. But that's what we're going to try and do today, is we're going to get in here, and I'm going to get the new front leaf springs on, which I could probably do that without moving the axle. Yeah, I could do that without putting the axle under there easier. Get the leaf spring plate off of the front, the old front. I've got new U-bolts, and I can slide that new front axle under here. And then I think first, though, because the rear end, I mean, good God, guys, if y'all haven't ever done rear leaf spring lifts or utilizing blocks, I know a lot of people don't like them. I don't care for them, but this is not anything super nice. I mean, it's going to be a good truck. But eventually what we're going to do is we're going to get some ORD shackle flips for the rear, which give you about 4 inches lift in the rear. It's just not in the budget right now. So we've got the lift blocks. They'll work. It's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get this guy, done up with the blocks. Super easy. They're tapered, so they get you that nice pinion angle set up. I got to get I actually just ordered the stainless steel extended brake lines for the front and rear. So in case you didn't know, if you're doing a 4-inch or a 6-inch or even 8, 10, 12-inch, whatever size lift kit you're going to be doing on your truck, you've got to get longer brake lines. Because if you don't, whenever that thing flexes a little bit, you know, it's going to start tugging on those lines and you could have a line failure. And we're talking about the rubber lines. So you've only got the one in the rear axle, which hits down to the T, which is usually on top of the pumpkin there. Then you have the two rubber lines on the front, which tie down to the caliper. So the problem that you run into with those is whenever you put, especially a 4-inch kit and above, you're pretty much at the bottom of where that guy's going to go. I mean, it's pretty much maxed out at ride height. So you definitely need some longer hoses, brake hoses for the front and for the rear axle. So I'm sure people make rubber ones, but when you start getting into those longer lengths, I would definitely go with the stainless steel ones or the braided, the braided lines, because they're going to be a little bit less. They're going to be a little bit less expansive, I guess, because whenever you start putting that pressure in it, you don't want that pipe, that rubber line flexing out, and that's going to cause you to have less, pedal fill. So pedal fill. That does not sound right, but that's going to cause you to have less feeling in the pedal. It's going to get a little mushy a little quicker because instead of the brakes actually pushing on the caliper or pushing on the rear shoes, to make them actually start slowing you down, it's just going to expand the hose a little bit, and then it's going to push. And then, God forbid, it actually busts the hose. So, upgrading those things, it's not cheap. I mean, I could buy a brand new brake hoses for the front. I think they're 23 or 24 bucks. The rear one's like 25 bucks. The stainless steel ones, I just ordered all 3 of those. The front ones were $66 and the rear one was $50. So it's a little bit more expensive. But I ordered them through Rough Country, and I can throw the part numbers and all that stuff down in the description. The one of the other big issues that you run into on these K5s, K10s, K20s, all the Chevy square body trucks especially, you run into the frame cracking right down here behind the steering box. A lot of times it's back over in this area. It's kind of high up, so I'm having a hard time reaching. But it's usually back over in here, and it'll crack down the side on the inside of the frame. So you may not be able to see it just looking at it. So usually that's something that you discover, just like, man, this thing wanders all over the road. I've replaced this and this and this and this. I've got new tie rod ends, got new drag link, I got new rag joint. I've got everything's new except for the steering box, but this thing is all over the road. And a lot of times it's either going to be the steering box is starting to go out, and that's a definite possibility, or you've got a cracked frame. And it's, like I said, it's common. There's nothing, there's nothing really out of the ordinary with that. It's pretty common with these old trucks. So one thing that I've always done anytime I've had a 4-wheel drive one of these, especially one that's been lifted or that I am lifting, is I go ahead and I purchase, basically it's a steering reinforcement brace that mounts inside. I can't remember if it mounts inside and outside. It's been a hot minute since I've done one, but it mounts in there to support that brake, that frame, to keep it from cracking. Also, if your frame is cracked there, you can always get that welded up really, really good, and then drop this thing in, and that should help it pretty good. I want to say ORD. I don't know if they still make it. I've been out of the 4-wheel drive game for a minute. ORD actually had a really nice one that tied back to a cross member or something like that. It was really nice. It kind of gave you a little triangulated setup there, because when you get them bigger tires on there, it's really going to put some pressure on those steering parts whenever you go to sawing that wheel back and forth. 35 1250. This thing factory was a 31 10.5. So you got a lot more mass, a lot more weight. You got a lot more surface area that you're trying to dig around and move. So it does put a lot of extra strain on the steering parts. So I went ahead and ordered that guy. The other things that we need to get, and I'll have to get those down the road as budget allows, is we'll get a new tie rod ends all the way around. I'll double check that drag link and make sure that main drag link, that main tie rod that goes to the other side, the crossover, make sure that's in good shape. It looks like it's pretty straight, but I'll double check it and make sure it's good and straight. But that's one of the things that I want to do, is make sure that the truck is safe And especially for a 16-year-old, you want to make sure that, you know, they're not going to be driving down the road and holy crap, the steering's gone out and I don't know what to do. Now we just found a tree, and that's just not a good time. So we want to make it as safe as possible. So we're going ahead and doing a lot of stuff. We're replacing stuff that we don't necessarily have to replace. Like I'm going to go ahead and replace all the brake calipers, or the front brake calipers. The ones that came off the truck, they look to be in good enough shape. They're kind of beat up, but they would work, you know, but it's just a little bit, you know, it's, what is it? $30 for each brake caliper. That's a little bit of, you know, it's a little bit of cost for a lot of reassurance, basically. The rear end, we'll get all new hardware, new shoes. We're probably going to reuse the drums and the rotors. They seem to be fine. I'll end up taking and going and getting them turned because they've been sitting for a while. So we'll take and go get those turned just to be on the safe side for those. Plus, that'll also make sure that they're true, that they're not, you know, they don't have a little hitch in their giddy up there. But so, you know, that's kind of the name of the game here, is we're trying to just, since we're in here, there's a lot of sensuous things going on here. Since you was in here, let's go ahead and replace all the steering, replace all the brakes, replace this, replace that. Yeah, it gets a little pricey on the front end, but it saves you a lot of time and effort, and especially time on the back end. You know, my little truck, Steve, that little guy, I put literally everything mechanical on it's new except for the transmission. Actually, the same thing on Big John too. Both of my trucks, pretty much everything mechanical on it has been rebuilt, refreshed. Well, on Steve, it's the transmission and the rear end. I didn't really touch the rear end. I think I changed the fluid and that was it. But Big John, everything mechanical minus the transmission has been touched, refinished, refurbed, replaced, whatever. So I'm not really afraid to drive those trucks anywhere. Big John, I'm afraid to drive anywhere just because, you know, it's a big block and it's thirsty. So it's an expensive drive. But hey, you know, Steve, moment's notice, I'd probably take a cross-country trip as long as somebody else is buying the gas. Not that it gets bad gas mileage, just I don't want to have to pay for all that gas. So anyways, so that's the name of the game. Replace what you can as you can. Even if it delays your build just a little bit longer, it's nice to go ahead and have all the fresher parts in there. So anyways, I'm going to get to it. That's enough of my jaw flapping and, you know, jabber jawing and whatever other colorful things you want to say. So that's enough of that. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get that old front end tore down, not the front end, but the springs tore off of it, so I can get those plates, get to cleaning those guys up, get them ready to repaint and clean up and make it look nice. And then I'll get to slapping that rear end in with the lift blocks. And then hopefully those plates will be good and dry and we can move up here to the front and we can get started up here in the front. So we'll catch up with you here in just a bit. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up for this week. While I was editing this thing, it was going to be over 2 hours. So I didn't want to run it that long. I like to try to keep them around. Honestly, I try to keep them around 45 minutes to, you know, under an hour. But yeah, I wasn't going to stretch this thing out to well over 2 hours. So you'll have to wait till next week and to see what the final edition of the Blazer looks like. As far as with the lift and the tires and all that stuff. And let me say, it looks very nice. So anyhow, I do appreciate it. Let's see, last week, I was even saying last week, you know, I was amazed that we hit 150 subscribers, which is pretty freaking awesome. Last night, whenever I was moving all the files over to get them ready to start editing, I just popped in over on the YouTube channel just to check and see what's going on there, and it was sitting at 204. So heck yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty thrilled about that, and I appreciate y'all guys' support, and look forward to keep making these videos. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Just get them numbers up, make this thing where it actually might make some money, and then I can maybe do some really cool stuff. But if you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, let me know why. Also, I do want to mention one of the subscribers, Robert Foote, I believe. No, Robert 4. Robert 4. Sorry, I don't have my phone in front of me, so I can't look up your name. I'm just kind of going off memory here. But Robert 4 had sent a message saying that my flag was upside, or was mounted backwards, and sure shooting, I looked it up on the flag code, and yep, I had this guy backwards. I flipped it around to make it right. You would have thought that I would have known better, but for some reason I was thinking it went the other way. So so thanks for bringing that to my attention, and hopefully I won't have another little mess up like that again. So, but anyways, I appreciate all y'all support. Look forward to next week. It's gonna be a good one. So anyways, just remember, guys, it ain't got to be perfect. It's just got to be good enough. Y'all guys have a good one. We'll see you next week.